Hey, what's up? I just want to do a quick comparison video of the Spyderco Military and the Paramilitary 2. These are both amazing knives from a great company. I really can't say enough good things about Spyderco, and I think a lot of people out there probably feel the same way. They've had good experiences, the value is excellent, the designs are amazing. So which knife should you buy? That's the question. The answer for me was the Paramilitary 2, and I have a feeling that that's the answer for a lot of people. It is smaller, it's lighter, it has a different locking mechanism, but it does have some things in common. You know, the blade shape is pretty similar, I would say. The blade material is the exact same. The handle material, G10, is also identical. I believe the pocket clip is fairly similar, but a little bit different, I guess. So let's note some of the important differences between the blades. First and foremost is the overall length of the knife is quite different. I'm not going to go into specs or anything like that, but I'll just let you see visually how different it is. I believe that the military blade is 4 inches, a full 4 inches, and the Paramilitary 2, I believe, is 3.75 or 3.5, something like that. So you can see that it is a little bit different. They're both made in the USA, but yeah, the blade shapes are just outstanding. They both have very, very acute, sort of delicate tips on them, which is outstanding, really. You know, that's pretty much a perfect blade shape. It has great belly on it, as well as a good tip. They're both FFG, which is a favorite grind of a lot of people, including myself. Not so much for cutting performance. I mean, that is truly great. But I also just like the simplicity of the FFG. You know, it's there's no funky grinds going on in there, and by representation, I'll show you the Manix 2 that I have here. This is saber ground, or maybe it's hollow grind. I'm not sure really what the difference is between those, but you know, it's thicker on top, and then as you get towards the cutting edge, it really kind of thins down, and that's okay too. I haven't really noticed that to be like a hindrance in my cutting tasks, but if I have a preference, it's going to be the FFG, no question. So the blade steel, the S30V, a lot of people would probably consider that to be a premium blade steel, and I can't really argue with that. My experiences with it are very good. You know, it does hold its edge a very long time, especially compared to something like an AUS 8, for example. What I can't really say, though, is that it holds a significant advantage over VG10. You know, like, I really like VG10. I think it's excellent. And I think the Enduras and the Delicas are truly high value knives for what you get. These knives are going to cost a little bit more. You know, at my local knife store, the base model of the Paramilitary is $140, and the base model of the Military is $165. If you want the special colorations like this, for example, black on black, or, you know, the camo handle, you're going to look at a little bit more money for sure. So what else? The pocket clips are different, as well as the configuration that you can put the pocket clips in. So I guess I do have a preference for this sort of hourglass looking clip on the Paramilitary 2, as well as the fact that you can put it tip up, tip down, left and right carry. So in that sense, it's much more of a user customizable knife, I guess, than the Military, which you can only do tip down on right-handed carry. But I believe they make left-handed models of this where everything is kind of reversed, including the nested liner lock there. Or I forget if that's called nested or recessed liner lock, something like that. But basically the liner's not fully exposed, it's partially buried within the handle. If you like putting lanyards on your knives, again, the Paramilitary 2 is going to be better. The hole, you can see, is considerably bigger, so you're going to have a much easier time getting 550 cord through there. I'm sure it's probably possible with the Military as well. That's not a very small hole, but you're probably going to have to use some tricks like the dental floss and pull it through. There's some good videos out there about how to do that. I do like this Digicam handle material on there. It's very handsome, really. It's a nice change whenever you get a knife that has a handle color, something different than black. For example, here's the Kershaw Zing, for example, with the this is not G10, I believe. I'm not sure what this is. I think it might be FRN or something like that. But the color is just outstanding. So I do like it when you can break from the mold a little bit and have a different handle color. And I believe that also on these handles, every handle is different. Like the pattern is sort of custom depending on which knife you get. You can get the same thing in the Paramilitary if you want to. I actually have another Paramilitary here as well. Here's a black handle with the satin blade as well, so maybe I'll throw that in there for a few minutes and you can look at that. Okay, so now let's talk about the locking mechanism, because that is definitely a difference between the two knives. So on the Military you have a liner lock, and some people might consider that to be a thin liner lock, especially considering that this knife is supposed to be heavy duty. I really like liner locks actually. I find that for EDC they're just outstanding because I can open and close them so easily. I've tried a whole bunch of different locks over the years and I pretty much always come back to the liner lock as my favorite. On the Paramilitary 2 you have the compression lock, which is a little bit different than a liner lock in the sense that the lock is resting on the stop pin instead of on the blade tang, and it's on the back of the knife instead of the front. So the reason why people kind of like that lock, I think there's a few reasons, but with a liner lock, when you're going to close the knife, the blade is coming down on your finger, and it's possible to either, you know, move your finger up and cut it, or maybe have it drop on your finger, something like that, because your finger needs to get in the way of the blade in order to close the knife. I personally don't find that to be a big problem, especially when the knife has a choil. You can just bring the choil down on your finger, readjust your grip, and then close it all the way. That being said, I have cut myself with knives before. I'm not sure if I've done it exactly that way before, but the advantage of the compression lock is that it's on the back of the knife, so you can push it and the knife just drops down. The fingers need never enter in front of the blade when it's closing. So I've never cut myself with the Paramilitary 2, so I suppose that is an advantage. The other thing to note is when you push it in, the blade just dangles back and forth like that. I'm not sure that that is true with liner locks. In fact, I don't think it is. You see I'm pushing it in and it doesn't really move unless you move it. So that's something to consider, I guess. I like the compression lock, but the one on my Paramilitary 2 is actually quite sticky. You need to apply quite a lot of force to get it to close. And I've read about this online, and it is an issue with this knife. It's sort of hit or miss whether that happens to you or not. I haven't actually sent this back to Spyderco, but as time goes on, I'm considering doing it more and more because this is a great knife, and I really don't carry it as much as I should because that kind of pisses me off, honestly. This one is not my knife, this is borrowed. Okay, so that pretty much covers the lock. Inside the knife, there are steel liners in both of them, I believe, but in the Paramilitary 2, they are full steel liners. They are milled out, so they do kind of reduce the weight of the steel liners, but they sort of go all the way through the handles. In the Military, I would say it's sort of like 50% steel liner and 50% just G10. They definitely, if you look inside the handle, you can see some areas where there's no steel liners present at all. So I think that was probably done in part to lighten the weight of the knife. And I said I wasn't going to give specs, but I will. So the Military is 4.5 ounces, and the Paramilitary 2, I believe, is 3.9. 3.9 versus 4.5. That's really not a huge jump considering the blades, the length of the blade that you get with the Military. So when you're carrying this knife, it really doesn't feel as heavy as you think it would for that size of the knife. It is quite light. A lot of people don't like big blades for EDC, and that is their right, of course. Some people gravitate towards something small like this, like the Flash 1, and I'll just stick it in there for representation. Personally, I like something, you know, in between. I like something sort of a medium size to large size folder, something that fills the hand nicely. You know, with the Flash 1, there's something missing there, particularly around the bottom of the knife. Also, this one doesn't have jimping, but that's kind of a different story. But I mean, this is a knife that more than fills the hand. You know, you got something sticking out, and I kind of like that actually. Some people don't like the really long handle, especially when it is considerably longer than the blade. I think this is probably close to an inch longer than the blade, the handle. I personally don't mind having a longer handle than blade, you know, depending on the design, as long as it doesn't get too out of whack. But having a bit of handle sticking out the hand, I think, is probably a good thing. What I will say, though, about this is that it's possible that this could become cumbersome in sort of some cutting tasks. You know, that's sort of open for debate, but I could see situations where having such a large blade would be difficult to manipulate, especially that large handle. Just the radius to turn the knife around and get the blade moving where you want it to go is a lot larger than on sort of a smaller knife. And I love cutting paper, so I'll just cut a little bit more. Super sharp. You know, S30V is a great steel, really. I guess everybody kind of knows that, but it's taken me a bit of time to warm up to it just because of the cost involved in buying S30V knives. They tend to be very pricey over pretty much every other kind of steel. Is there anything more that I can say about these knives? Okay, well, what about deployment speed? I'll just show you quickly how I open them. So very, you know, very nice and fast. I don't know if I can do the middle finger flick on this one, but I'll give it a try. Oh yeah, no problem. So they both open super fast, you know, thumb flick, middle finger flick, very nice. I just learned how to do that a little while ago, so I have to show it off in as many videos as possible. Also, I mean, for those of us who don't flick, you can just open it like that, no problem. Another thing you can actually do, and I'm not sure that I'll be able to do it well on camera, but I'll try, is you can push in the compression lock and kind of give it a flick and get it to stay open like that. So you can kind of flick it, open and close, almost like an axis lock on a Benchmade. So I don't know, you know, it's really personal preference which one you want to try. I think most people naturally are going to gravitate towards the Paramilitary 2 just because it is sort of a more EDC friendly design and size. Also, I think that this design has been more refined over time than the military. I may be wrong on that. I'm not sure, you know, if they've ever changed this design or not, but I know that they have different variations, like they have the fluted titanium and a whole bunch of different blade and handle configurations. Like they've got a combo edge, I believe, and a black blade, satin blade. Yeah, a whole bunch of different cool variations, really. And the fluted titanium one, it does go up to, it gets to 6 ounces, 6.1 ounces. So they do get heavier if you choose like a steel blade material, but I guess that's common sense. What can I say? Spyderco makes good knives. You know, if I could, I would own both these knives without a question. I'm very lucky to have borrowed this knife, and I think it's pretty cool. I tried carrying it a little bit in the pocket, and it really carries like a much smaller knife. So, you know, that's my comparison. Both great knives. I chose to buy the Paramilitary 2, but who knows, maybe down the road I'll fork out the 160, maybe 180 bucks with tax and pick up the military. But honestly, I think that given the fact that the design is less impressive, I think, than the Paramilitary 2, and you know, I don't know, there's probably a lot of other knives I could buy for that money that I would enjoy having more. Thanks for watching.